Now, moving on to the next speaker on our agenda, we remember Jacek, managing partner, Jacek Kędzior, managing partner for Poland, regional managing partner for Central, Eastern, and Southeastern Europe and Central Asia at EY. You may remember him from 2019 conference, ABSL Summit. He has analyzed then how much business services sector contributes to Poland's GDP.
Knowing that Jacek and EY have such detailed tools, we have approached him with a question that is also a title for the panel to follow his intro: how to maintain business operations the day after post-COVID scenarios.
Jacek has already published some analysis, and we at ABSL thought it would be good to hear them at our forum. Jacek, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be with you today, and of course, being a part of this great discussion. Thank you very much for invitation, and of course, again, welcome to everybody. As we of course discuss and we try to focus on a post-COVID-19 environment, maybe a couple of the words on how we actually saw the environment before COVID-19. And of course, you started already sharing some of the keywords. So let me use the same format of saying how we are actually looking at the environment. And for us, the environment was, first of all, a disruption that was actually happening for the business across the board. Disruption that required transformation, and predominantly technology-enabled transformation. And therefore, very quickly, we moved into the digital as a word for us, how we should actually transform our business. So the transformation already very much present in our vocabulary. When we look at the transformation, global business services actually were playing in our view in transforming the business. And the global business services, as we actually understand, client-centric, end-to-end processes being actually flowing across the functions, across geographies, truly steered globally, and in a way independent from the local functions, local industry units. And this actually business was very vital, clearly, to the Polish economy. So if we move to the next slide, you will see the data that we could observe last year as we actually did our study. If I can ask for the next slide, please. All right, thank you very much. And it is a 3% of a GDP was attributed based on our research of EY Spectrum on actually of saying that the 3% of the Polish gross domestic product is actually associated with this. But I think what is also important in your current, survey, what you are saying, that actually the business services is the biggest exporter. So that's so critical for the Polish economy. Now, I'm being prompted very quickly moving to post-COVID-19 environment. Of course, we are running all of a number of studies, number of research. All of us are looking at this. So I would probably like to focus on some very few, but I'd say would be very critical aspects of this environment that we are going into. And of course, we are not going to jump into completely new era, the day after. Although, definitely in the midterm, we will see a very significant impact for the business. Let me start from globalization. And of course, before COVID-19, we saw a number of the pressure around the globalization, predominantly being driven by the current global politics, what was happening between US and China, but it's also, Brexit contributed to this, of course, some tensions around EU and the US, but also certain tensions in the area of certain areas of Asia. But I think what this actually situation demonstrated to us and the significant impact it has on the global supply chain. and hold the philosophy that we were actually used to on-time delivery, just on-time delivery, has been actually put under the question. So what we will see for sure is actually a movement from the globalization to the regionalization. I think the geographical proximity, cultural proximity is going to be traded for the efficiency more and more. Then the third area, which is health and the climate, natural resources. I think as you look at the CSR strategies of the companies in the past, we start from diversity and inclusiveness. It actually moved a little bit towards the environment. Importance of the environment was increasing. But now we actually see that environment that we operate, health, security, has a very significant impact on the business and actually how we do the business, which means for us that both health, natural resources, and climate are going to be actually part of the planning process, that we start actually drawing the scenarios of B and C, taking all of those things into consideration. And then finally, technology. I think when you look at the technology, that's probably something that comes at the very first when we reflect on a post-COVID-19 environment. All of us embraced technology very quickly, and we move up very quickly into the remote working. And our ability to absorb the technology has been actually proven. And I think it's actually a great tribute to the sector I'm speaking to, because we are being very well recognized globally, and actually a Polish business services sector for your ability to actually move up very swiftly into new environment, to continue delivering great services and actually making sure that your clients are being fully satisfied. And I think it actually demonstrated what we are offering as the country and you as a business vis-a-vis some other locations. I think technology, on the one hand side, of course, is ability to work remotely, very relevant for this sector. Having said that, technology is going to impact how we do the business in order to manage some of the risks that are being connected with potential pandemic, of the coming back of any other pandemic, and generally the health issue. So if we can be resilient, technology definitely can help. And this will drive number of the business challenges. And then move to another slide. And quickly after technology talking about the human capital. I think in this environment that we are entering now, and this probably will last still for a couple of years, the companies and the businesses will have to transform, and will have to transform at the pace they never experienced before. Somebody could say that we were preaching about the transformation. Number of the companies had to transform, were actually measuring the way how they are actually transforming, or how fast they were transforming. Now it's not a matter of choice. This environment, and that's what's actually happening in the global economy, will push everybody to transform at the speed. And the businesses services organization, in my view, have actually a critical role to play, because they are actually able to do things end to end in a client-centric manner, being steered globally, independently from actually what's happening in some of the local markets the organizations operate. And they can be a true enablers for actually change happening in the organization. And I'm perfectly sure that that's how they are going to be used. And I can see this, it's coming very clearly to me through the conversation I have with some of the global CEOs. I'm just moved from another virtual meeting of my European executive that I'm part of, how we discuss our internal transformation. The business services organizations, I can assure you, are going to play a critical role in the whole of this process. Now, for this to actually happen, What do we need? I think we need what we spoke already about, meaning a track record of success. And you have a fantastic track record of the last number of years, but also last couple of weeks, how you actually went through this very difficult and extremely demanding times very swiftly at the end of the day, maintaining the high level of client satisfaction. That's what we need. But we also need, in addition to the technology, we need human capital. And I think the effectiveness and efficiency game that we played very early on when talking about the business services is not good enough. We have to keep investing into the human capital, because this outstanding human capital we have and we may still acquire can actually enable us to be a driving force for the transformation so needed in the organizations that you are part of. And I think also technology is giving us a lot of opportunity to do it. And of course, when you look at about remote working, which opens up all the opportunities. Probably some of you were, when thinking about your recruitment strategies, you were thinking about some of the markets, parts of the regions that you are actually based. Somebody could argue that now the recruitment market is so broader because we can actually, with the proven track record of us working remotely, we can bring people from all over the places. But of course, with the remote working, other things are changing. And if we can move to the next slide, we are talking about the change, of office. And office space, of course, are going to change. There are a number of trends, already in the data indicating the change. And probably will need more time and more cold head, so to say, to really reflect on some of this and try to drive, some of the very, let's say, sensible prediction. But what is really certain, that the office is going to be and to remain not necessarily that much a place to work, but the place of a collaboration, the place of teaming, the place of exchanging ideas. So as we actually talk about us in the business services, moving up in the value chain, if you will, driving the transformation, acquiring a talent who is able to drive these transformations for the organization we are part of, we will have to define and redefine, the office space that we use, and actually how we use it, how we equip this to actually allow this to happen. Assuming that, that the remote working, to the certain extent, to the far greater extent than ever before, will become a part of the new reality that we exist. And maybe for one more slide, if I can ask, which is maybe not that thought-provoking slide, I must admit, but something that I could not resist to put in, meaning cash is king. And the reason I'm putting this to this audience, that we have a number of financial centers, being actually located, in Poland, and you are actually representing these businesses. I think we have to understand that in these very difficult times, and these times are not over, they will continue. And we still have quite some time before we have vaccination being actually applied broadly. And for all of those times, and probably even beyond, financial resilience is going to be one of the key things for the businesses to somebody could say to survive, but if not to survive, to actually allow for this transformation to happen, okay? And therefore, whatever you can do for your organization to support, and strengthen the cash position of the business, I'm sure is going to be highly appreciated, because it's one of the key things everybody is looking when entering in such difficult and demanding times. So if I can move to the very last slide of my very brief introduction, and of course you will find a number of words here. What is really important? I would probably not comment on this. Maybe I would say just a few words. As we are talking about the transformation before, and the transformation was actually happening, but on a reflection, I would say the number of businesses were more preaching to the transformation rather than very rigorously driving a transformation in their business. What is actually happening in a post-COVID-19 environment is that the transformation is a must, is the necessity. It's something that cannot be postponed if you really want to remain in the business and actually be successful in the business. And in this context, like never before, in my view, business services organization have a critical role to play. And personally, I also believe, that looking at what we have achieved in Poland, what you as a sector have achieved in your organization, how this is being appreciated, positions us well, into taking up on this opportunity. Thank you very much for your attention, and wishing you a great forum.